Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Workers' Mic right here on 720 WGN. I'm Ken Edwards with the Midwest Coalition of Labor. Sitting to my left is Phil Davidson, sitting in for Ed. Phil is with the Mid-America Carpenters Regional Council. Hi, Phil. How's it going?
Good morning, Ken. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for coming in. Mac RC, as we like to say.
That's right.
We got a good show for you today. We're going to talk about the Teamsters. Historic
Big
contract.
news there.
Yep,
Big news.
Huge. We're going to talk about the Democratic National Convention, which is coming to Chicago, and a labor peace deal that the unions negotiated, right?
Yep. Handshake deal.
Yeah, and then we're gonna go back to the actors and the writers and talk about that a little bit as well. But before we start, I saw something, Phil, that came. I think it came from. I know it came from your union. As a matter of fact, you probably wrote it, and that was. Given the terrible heat that we've had here in the Midwest, it was a reminder to
hydrate
to your members to hydrate, right? And it was very simple, and it just said, hey, don't forget, you got to make sure you drink electrolytes, et cetera, right? And
8 to 10 cups.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I mean, especially in this heat, you have to.
And I just found it, I don't know, ironic, if you will, that we've been talking about. Governor Abbott in Texas, who banned water breaks, and people are literally dying as a result. And here you guys are reminding people to stop and take water breaks.
Well, they're all camels in Texas, so they can just store it for infinite number of days. I know that was. Whoever heard of telling someone they can't take a water break? I mean, how can you still hold your position after making that policy recommendation?
I don't know. I actually read something that the Biden administration was thinking about actually trying to supersede that as a matter of public safety.
Yeah.
To say that, you have to provide at a bare minimum, just like, bare minimum of wages, for example, federal, minimum wage, that you have to provide people with water breaks. It's amazing to me that they would ban that. But, kudos to you guys for getting the word out there and making sure that people remember to hydrate.
Yeah. And when it's 95 degrees, it's inhumane not to take water breaks.
I have been driving around the Midwest for the past couple of weeks, Phil.
Sticky.
First of all, it's been really, really tough.
Yeah.
A lot of driving, a lot of windshield time. But you know what I've seen everywhere I went? I was in Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, back to Chicago. You know what I've seen?
What's that?
Construction.
Beautiful.
Lots and lots of construction.
Roads, bridges, you name it.
I mean, solar, wind farms, complete, dirt being moved to build, I don't know what they were. Probably, I know there were some hospitals and factories and things like that, but just a ton of road work. That is music to our ears.
That's a beautiful thing.
Oh, it's a fantastic thing. So don't complain about traffic. It's all good for jobs. Hey, listen, we got to take a quick break.
We got a guest coming up.
Yeah, and Brendan Bourne. Sounds like a movie star, doesn't it?
Yeah, there is a famous surname of Bourne, but no relation, as we had to remind you.
He spells it different. But, we want to talk about, the future of labor and start to, to have some young kids not only get into the trades, et cetera, but also who's going to be running labor in the future, right? And so we need to get our ducks in a row on that, too, and make sure that our next round of leaders are smart and young and progressive and get it and, willing to push the envelope and fight for what's right, et cetera. So we'll be right back. Right here on the Workers' Mic, 720 WGN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Workers' Mic right here on 720 WGN. I'm Ken. Sitting next to me is Phil. Today, we have an interesting guest, a little bit of a departure, yeah?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, and I want to introduce everyone to a young man named Brendan Bourne. And that is not a fake name, is it, Brendan?
It's not.
It sounds like a rock star name, Brendan Bourne.
Same spelling as Jason?
Different spelling, but he's a distant cousin.
Is that right?
Got it.
We don't see him much.
Is he really?
Well, he's a fictional character. There,
I guess I didn't get that.
Nothing gets past you.
Oh, wow. I was thinking about the actor. Yeah, that makes sense.
Matthew Damon is the actor.
Matthew Damon's a good dude.
Great guy.
Right?
I know nothing about that, but I'll take your word for it.
He's very pro-union.
Yes, he is. That is true.
Yeah, he's always spoken up for the working class.
Yes.
So I digress. Brendan, tell us who you are.
I'm an incoming junior, I guess a rising junior at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign.
And what brings you to the workers' mic? How'd you get interested in this?
Well, sophomore year of high school, my U.S. history teacher, I took AP U.S. history, which advanced placement courses are oriented more like college courses, where you're formulating and creating arguments and learning how to write, read, formulate an opinion.
You're smart, is what you're saying.
I guess.
Yeah.
Smarter than us.
Yeah, I didn't get to that AP portion of that. Yeah.
That's a low bar, smarter than us, but still, yes.
So you took a class, right? You got interested
Right.
in labor. But let's back up a second. You are the son of a very popular federal mediator here in the Midwest named Dave Bourne, correct?
That is correct.
Yep. So you have had obviously what I would consider the luxury of being raised around. Actually, both of your parents are mediators, correct?
Yes, that's
both
correct.
both federal mediators, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so raised around labor, right? A federal mediator comes in and they help try and resolve disputes. Sometimes they start from the beginning, sometimes they just come in at the end, but that's their job. They're neutral, right?
Yes.
Were they judges before?
Neither of them were. Well,
Actually-
both of them worked for the NLRB, actually. I believe my dad was a hearing officer. I don't know exactly what my mom did, but I don't believe either of them were ever judges for the NLRB.
Got it.
Well, your dad was a Teamster business agent, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
he was.
Yeah, back in the day. So you have this pedigree, right? And then so
Yes.
you're sort of built in, but you decide that you're going to pick labor. Right?
Yes.
The union side, right? The working side, the people's side, if you will, right? People always say, like, I always hear people go like, hey, I'm a labor attorney. Like, no, you're not. You're an anti-labor attorney, right?
Yeah.
These management lawyers, like, I'm a
Yeah.
labor lawyer. No.
What
You're
percentage of attorneys who call themselves labor attorneys are actually pro-union attorneys?
like 3%.
Really?
We're certainly in the minority.
Yes.
Which is why I think, and to be blunt with you, part of the reason that I wanted to have Brendan on the show is, we don't really get a perspective of a 19-year-old, that has any inkling about labor.
Yep.
Right. And I thought that this was a unique opportunity to hear what somebody like Brendan has to say. So I'll shut up and actually let him talk because I have
I'd love to hear it,
I have a
yeah.
tendency to talk over everybody.
Tell us, I'm curious.
Yeah.
We hear so much right now in mainstream media and podcasts. Oh, this is one of the greatest times ever for labor movement. More and more young people are seeing the obvious advantages of joining a union. And what is that? What you're seeing on campus? Is that a prevailing sentiment? Like, is that real?
It's definitely what I'm seeing on campus among people who are interested in that. Definitely people who work at Starbucks, who work at some of these other industries where you're starting to see more of an effort to organize those places. But in kind of segments and elements where you kind of see people removed from it, you really see, I guess, a sense of apathy where people aren't aware of it and they don't know about it. But when you talk to them about it, regardless of who they are, they say, oh, yeah, that's a great thing. Being a member of a union's a great thing.
So let me ask you this. You said people are apathetic or maybe they just don't know about it. And I think you're right. When you actually explain to them and talk about what a union actually does, it's hard. You're hard pressed to not agree with that concept.
Right.
But I think you and I were talking earlier. How do you, if you don't know, you don't know, right? And they don't teach labor courses anymore, right? I mean, where do you learn about?
Pretty rare.
Yeah, right. Where do you learn about it? Like, you said you
His
had
school.
an AP? Yeah, in your school they did, right? But you had to take an AP class to do that. Labor courses are not in high schools anymore, right?
Right. They're not.
And even barely colleges.
Yeah.
Right.
It's DePaul and Champaign. I mean, right? Have like the two
Right.
most highest profile labor
Yeah.
studies programs, and
Yeah.
that's about it.
So what made you decide to do this, like to get on this side of things? And it seems like, you're young, but you already sort of have your career goals set. Like, what made you decide to do that?
So it was actually interesting because back in that history class, we were assigned to do a debate on the business leaders, the robber barons or captains of industry was the debate. And
Yep.
I was on the side of calling them the robber barons. So I was on the more labor side. And I started asking my dad about, what had gone on and the history aspect. And I was very fascinated by it. And I started to research it more. And then going to U of I, obviously they have the labor and employment relations school there, and I intend to minor in the global labor studies minor, and I took a labor history course this last semester, and that was very fascinating, and I'm hooked. I guess.
love it. That's good.
Was it Bob Bruno's class?
It was Augustus Wood
Okay.
was the professor. He's actually the former head of the graduate employees organization there.
Oh, cool.
Super cool. And you plan on what, having a radio show?
Yes, Professor Wood and I have talked about that.
I love it. Can we be on?
Absolutely. I'm looking for guests.
Little tit for tat here. Come on. Yeah.
One hand washes the other.
Exactly.
So what's going to be the topic of the show? Labor?
So definitely labor.
I love it. And so so tell us a little bit more. I know you said like you get involved in local politics and, you know, which I know you live in, New Lenox?
New Lenox, yes.
Yeah, that must be a tough place to be involved in politics.
It's
Certainly, at least on your side.
Yes.
The Will County progressives are actually pretty well organized, right?
They are.
Yeah.
Is that right?
They're very well organized. Just don't see a lot of them out in New Lenox.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you had your druthers, what would you do? Would you take this into grad school? Would you go to law school? Like, what's your goal, I guess, is my question.
I want to be a labor side lawyer, so definitely going to law school after I get my undergraduate.
Really?
Yes.
So, you know, here's the thing.
Give them some advice.
When in doubt, look about. Always pick C. Let's see. $100 goes a long way.
There you go.
No, I have zero advice. Try hard. But, you know, we've been talking about this, that these big firms, right, they'll come to the schools and they'll solicit people. And, you know, they'll go like, oh, you know, come join our firm and, you know, we'll pay you $250,000 and a signing bonus. And then you have, you know, unions like, hey, come work for us and we'll pay you $50,000 a year and we're going to work you 80, 90, 100 hours because, and you're lucky to be here, you know?
Yeah.
We don't do enough in labor, in my opinion, to go out and get this side of our house in order. And, you know, you see I think some of the more progressive unions here, you know, hiring in-house attorneys, right? I was one of them. You know, we're smarter here, I think, in Chicago, and we have more resources, and I think we're a little bit more progressive. Our labor leaders here are certainly that. But I tell people or anybody that listens, like, you got to go to these school fairs, right? You have to go to these colleges, and you have to explain, hey, this is who we are, and this is what we do, and here's why this would be a great career. Like, what do you think about that, Brendan? Are we as labor falling down in that regard?
I think labor would benefit greatly from definitely reaching out to students in college as well as high school and going to college fairs at the high schools and then career fairs on college campuses to recruit members, to recruit people for union leadership, whether it's in-house counsel, whether it's a business agent, to definitely expand their ranks. And
I think that makes sense. You know, we've been concentrating so you know, hard on the show of getting, you know,
the high school
workers,
kids.
but workers and high school kids and, you know, into the trades, that we often, I think, forget about the fact that somebody needs to run the business of the union.
Yep.
Right? I mean, Phil, you're a communications director for 50,000 members.
That's right.
It's not a small world, right? Covering how many states?
3.5.
I mean, that's a big deal.
It's a very important job. I'm a big deal.
You are a big deal.
Thank you.
And you get paid.
I tell myself that every night.
You get paid an amazing amount of money.
I do.
So,
but you're right. Yeah,
I mean, but you think that would be, Brendan? You think that would be helpful if the unions, besides saying, "Hey, come to the trades," some of the union leaders or attorneys or business agents said, like, "Hey, this is what a career looks like working for a union," right?
Absolutely.
Okay, and I think that's right, and I think that we in labor, if you're listening, need to do a better job of that because. You know, I talked to somebody, I don't know, the other day in University of Chicago grad, and she said, I'm going to go work for labor. Like, well, you'd be the first one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And, you know, it's interesting because we fall into it, right?
Yeah.
Phil, I mean, it's like, you know, I was born in a labor family. Like, I believe in this. It's just sort of my calling in life, I think. And, you know, Brendan, like, you come from a labor family, if you will, even though it's quasi-neutral. But, you know, I'm sure that, you know, I can't say they lean one way or the other. But, you know, you've been exposed to it. Not a lot of other people are.
Yeah.
Right. And they hear the word union, like, oh, you know, hard hats, right? Shovels, whatever it is they think. But
Right.
They don't realize that, the unions are multi-billion-dollar organizations, right, Phil?
Huge.
And we have doctors' offices, we have pensions, we have health insurance, we have credit unions. I mean, the world's your oyster.
Yeah.
Somebody has to run this, and it's not easy, by the way.
No.
And it's,
Especially when you're just coming up from the trades and put in that position of like, yeah, you need people.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. And it seems like, speaking for my union, there's such a focus on recruiting new members right out of high school.
Yep.
Because, hey, it's a very effective message to say, look, if college isn't for you, you should really consider a career in the trades. You'll make a great salary, great benefits, outstanding retirement. But there's plenty of people who graduate college who probably would be interested in joining the trades and going there and recruiting them, because I think a lot of people go to college and they get their degree, whatever it is in. If it's a liberal arts degree, the job that you're looking at when you're checking out the recruiting boards and everything may not exactly align with what you're looking to do as a career. So
and it may not pay that well.
Right. But yeah, that's a big one of the big question marks there as well. But I know people. There's at my union, at my cousins and electricians, there's a lot of people who have college degrees. They're like, you know what? I think I know I spent a lot of money on college, but I'll pay off my debts. I'll get a career in the trades, and that's going to be a really good career for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Brendan? What do you think about our, meaning labor's use of social media? Are we good, bad, indifferent? Could be better, could be worse. What do you think?
I think it really varies from union to union, but I feel that unions use social media when they're building up to a contract campaign or a strike, like the Teamsters right now. That UPS contract is expiring July 31st, and there's a new Instagram post by every local every day about the contract campaign and about the contract and the potential for a strike. But where I think unions could benefit from using social media more is definitely in recruitment of new members, definitely selling the benefits package especially. And that's where something differs when you're recruiting people out of college as well, is you sell the benefits package, the health insurance, the retirement plan.
Yeah. What about getting people just used to the word union again, right? Because for such a long time, we were our own best kept secret. And, I'm looking to people, I hate to say it, but people your age, our Da Vinci Street crew and the younger generation I hate to say it, but to teach labor moving forward how to use social media effectively. And, these are tools, and we need to do a better job of using them. What do you think, Brendan?
I think that's great. I think that's said perfectly, where the more labor can kind of be out there on social media, the more they can be visible in the community, recruit new members, and even just kind of, I guess, get people comfortable saying union again.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
It's funny you mention that. I spoke to a woman from New York who works for a PR agency who was pitching stories about how unions are utilizing TikTok as a recruitment tool.
Yeah. And
I put her in touch with a member of ours who's, got a pretty active following on his TikTok.
Uh-huh.
And she's pitching that story. And we haven't landed one quite yet, but she's going national with it because it's huge. I mean, you got to go where the people are, and that's where the young people are.
And I think Brendan, somebody like you can come at it from that perspective. And you say you want to be a lawyer, and I think that's great. But you can also say to your professors and whoever else will listen is hey, why don't we have a communications major with a minor in labor, right? Or understand how to talk to labor or to workers or to unions or whatever in communications world, a class on social media, a class on labor history. These are things that need to start to come back, because we have been dumbed down as a society by, I think, the robber barons, if you will. Right. I agree with that term. The media barons and people that own everything, and they don't want us to think independently or intellectually about our own working lives. They want us to be they want us to concentrate on the reality star of the day. And just to distract us with nonsense. And so, I think it's incumbent upon people like yourself, no pressure, Brendan. I mean, I'm actually talking about you.
Yeah,
so
you specifically.
Yeah, you specifically, to take care of the rest of the labor movement. So I appreciate you doing that.
Thank you.
We're in good hands, I can tell.
We are in good hands. Anything you want to add? Are you going to open up do you have any websites you want to plug or social media?
So if anyone wants to follow me specifically on social media where I speak about labor and stuff like that, as well as just give advice, my Instagram is Brendan Bourne, Illinois. And then if anyone wants to follow the labor content I create, it's called Labor Media. The Instagram handle is Labor Media Official. Same with YouTube. And then if any unions would like to contact me, they can just follow me on Instagram and reach out to me through Instagram if they want to contact me for social media services, if they want help growing their social media page.
And we'll just take what do we take, a third of that,
Yeah.
Phil?
Yep.
Yeah.
Seems pretty fair.
Exactly.
Well, listen, it's been really cool talking to you. I appreciate your coming down here.
Yeah, great ideas.
I wish you well in the rest of your college career and your ideas and your social media. And if you ever need any help, obviously, we're just a call away. You've been listening to The Workers' Mic right here on 720 WGN with Brendan Bourne. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to The Workers' Mic right here on 720 WGN. I'm Ken. Sitting next to me is Phil. That was interesting, yeah?
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Bright young man.
It's nice to see people that get it at an early age. So let's move topics. Let's talk about the Teamsters,
Yeah.
right?
This was earth-shattering.
Historic.
Yeah.
And they killed it.
Yeah. I mean, that leading up to this agreement, I mean, that story was headlines in every publication across the country. Everyone's saying, like, oh, everyone's talking about the Hollywood strike. This is the next strike that's going to upend our economy. I mean, there was arguably greater implications if the Teamsters were going on strike for, the health of the economy.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to get that deal done in the waning hours is huge.
Yeah, I think, and I'm going to read some of it in a second, but, kudos to the Teamsters for not blinking.
Yeah.
Right? And they really, I think they were positioned very, very well. They did their homework. They understood, what their leverage points were.
Yeah.
They did the practice pickets.
Yep.
I mean, those were fantastic. What a great idea.
Practice pickets.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And it's just super smart to show people like, hey, we're organized. We're together, and this is what's coming your way, and showed UPS that, and quite frankly, the rest of the economy. And I think that I'm sure that Wall Street and other entities put pressure on UPS to settle this thing, because it really would have just, what did they put? One out of every four delivery?
I'm sure there was political pressure as well.
You would think so.
Absolutely.
And at least it didn't go the other way, for a change, which just didn't ask the union to bend.
Right.
Because their general president, O'Brien, said,
He's a bulldog.
he certainly is.
Yeah.
I think I said this. He's like, where I come from in Boston, if two people are having a fight and you don't have anything to do with it, keep walking.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, that was his message to the White House. But they got, so look, I'm going to just tick off a few of the things that the Teamsters achieved. They got an immediate $2.75 an hour raise in 2023.
Yeah.
An immediate.
And we should, just to give quick background here, I know we've talked about this before, but yeah, the Teamsters represent 350,000
That's right.
UPS employees.
Yes.
And they just, after a very contentious negotiation, were able to settle or come to an agreement. It hasn't been ratified yet, but it looks like
Yes.
it's going to go through. And so that's what we're discussing.
I think that they're meeting and I'm not sure how the Teamsters do it, but I think like they're negotiating committee meets first and said, okay, we're going to recommend this deal, and then the members vote on the contract.
Yeah.
So for all of you that think that unions just come to an agreement with management and then comes back to the membership and says, hey, everybody, congratulations, here's your contract. It's not that. It's an actual democratic process.
They get to vote on it.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
it sounds like the votes are there. That I don't know how they couldn't be, considering this list that you're reading off here. I mean,
Yeah.
it's incredible what they got.
But it's a democratic process. I mean, they get to vote on the contract.
Yes.
So, and they also probably, they have representatives at the table, making sure that their wants and needs are addressed.
Yep.
And so, I think that
Bargaining
$2.75, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, bargaining committee. $2.75 right out of the gate. And that's a $5,000 plus base rate adjustment. And it's not just obviously one shot, it's forever, right? Because you just increase your wages by that dollar amount, and that doesn't include overtime. So, people working overtime, that could mean an extra $7,000 a year, which is mortgage payments and food and childcare. And I mean, just, that's a lot of money. I think it was $750 over the life of the contract, which is a 5-year deal. I think that's what the wages were.
That's a big hike.
It's a giant number. The part-timers, Teamsters have a lot of part-timers. They went to immediately $21 an hour as a base. So I was reading, in the weeks up to it, that there were people that were working part-time for Teamsters for, 10, 20 years, and they were making 16, 17 bucks an hour. Boom. Now the base is 21. So I thought that was great. They would, the general wage increases for part-time will be double the amount obtained in the previous contract. So that you're going to see part-timers now actually make some real money.
They have much more of a seat at the table than it sounds like they had in the past. Where
yeah,
they were part-timers were considered, you're on the team, but you're second class, and not anymore, right?
Yeah, and I think they had some tier issues in there.
Yeah,
some tier payments and tier wages. I think those went away. The wage increases for full-time employees will make the UPS Teamsters the highest paid delivery drivers in the United States with an average top rate of $49 an hour. $49 an hour. And don't include your pension, your health insurance, your time off, et cetera, et cetera. $49 an hour on the check. That's a good, solid.
That's a great career.
Yep.
Family sustaining.
Absolutely. They have also created a guarantee, and I'm not sure how this works, but they're going to fill, I want to say, it was something like 7,500 new full-time positions, and then there's 22,000 open positions. They're going to fill them as well and give the part-timers the opportunity to get those full-time positions first. So, I mean,
they're creating jobs.
Yeah, the teams are literally creating jobs.
They're creating jobs through this negotiation.
And, and look, we give all the credit to the Teamsters, and probably, to be honest with you, that's where it lies. But, UPS was also smart enough to realize that they were in a no-win situation. And maybe there was some altruism there that UPS said, I'm hoping that somebody on UPS's side said, what's the matter with creating good, middle-class jobs, right? Yeah. Like, that's a good, like, if you're UPS, look, I don't use FedEx.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I use UPS.
Me too.
Right? Because I know they're a good union shop. I know they pay their people well. But I will tell you this, and that is, hey, Amazon, right?
Pay attention.
Guess what's coming your way?
Yeah.
It's the Teamsters.
Because they're the largest client for UPS of any company in the world. It's Amazon. They do move more packages, obviously.
Has to be, right?
That goes without saying. I think UPS is the biggest shipper in the world. They do basically 1/4 of all package deliveries in the country, and that's 20 million packages a day.
That's amazing.
20 million a day.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, when people are like, "Oh, is this going to do the company's bottom line?" UPS is okay.
I think they're doing fine.
There's a lot of money there.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're making money from Amazon. But the fact that the Teamsters now have their eye on Amazon, I think is a good thing. I'm telling you right now that the Amazon labor union from Staten Island, this nascent first one, and kudos to them for being the first one. You should pick up the phone and call the Teamsters.
Yeah, you
should merge immediately with the Teamsters because the Teamsters have the muscle.
Yeah,
they have the bandwidth. They have the history. They've been around over 100 years. They get it, and they're strong. And, you by yourself, Amazon Labor Union in Staten Island, are going to have a hard time forcing Amazon, even getting to the bargaining table.
Yeah.
Right? But the Teamsters have the muscle to do it.
What's it? You've been in the room for bargaining negotiations. Yeah. What's it like? How intense does it get? Does it get pretty acrimonious with both sides? I mean, I'm sure there's different strategies, but give the listeners a little glimpse of what those can be like.
Yeah, it can be extremely cordial and cooperative if both sides are being kind of honest brokers and want to get to the middle and come in not too far apart. Or it can be terribly, terribly acrimonious.
Yes.
And I have
ever pounded the table with your fists and walked out. Yeah.
I have literally pounded my fist. I've yelled. I've picked up my stuff and left. I've had that done to me.
Yeah.
I had a proposal. I ran it across the table, and I had a management attorney just scribble on my proposal, NFW, which I'm sure
I think yes.
Yeah, and so I literally took my pen and I just crossed off the N, and I gave it back to him. And, like when you're doing stuff like that, you're just you're getting nowhere.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, and imagine also this, Phil, if we're talking about bargaining for a second, you're organizing, right? And as part of your organizing drive, you're obviously selling the union and why it's a good thing, et cetera. But simultaneously, in typical organizing, you're also exposing, what management is perhaps not doing well.
Yeah.
Right. And how, you guys should come together, and you're exposing lots of different things about management or the company or the municipality or whatever it is. And, you're slugging it out, right?
Yep.
They're telling you, they're telling them, the employees, don't join the union. The union's this, and this. And you're telling them, hey, join the union. Your employer is this, and this. And so like a few times, like I tried to vote the mayor out of a town or something like that. And then I would go
Extreme
into
measures.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I would go into negotiations. I would lose, by the way.
Yeah.
I go into negotiations like, oh, good to see you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, I just spent the last 6 months trying to vote you out.
Oh, that whole thing. Yeah, that's just the heat of the battle.
Right, exactly right. And those that can get over things like that, that can put their egos aside, it's fine. But yeah, negotiations are not easy. And, speaking of negotiations, who's not negotiating? The writers and the screen
Not at all.
actors. Like literally not at the table.
They're not even in the same stratosphere. Yeah.
But Phil, how do you resolve a strike if you're not meeting to resolve the strike?
That's a very good question.
And look, the Teamsters, right? They got it. They were going to hurt UPS economically. Quite frankly, the United States would have suffered as well. But the actors,
$7 billion a day.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was what the estimate was. Yeah.
But the actors, right, and the writers, they're going up against. I mean, I don't know what the numbers are, but trillion, bazillion, gazillionaires, right?
Yeah, right.
How do you shut that down? How do you force that to the table?
Yeah, it's definitely David versus Goliath here,
right? And you see now, and we talked about this, and kudos to The Rock, right? What's his name? Dwayne Johnson. Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. He gave a check of what they said was 7 figures, and I don't know what the dollar amount was, but to, I guess for lack of a better word, a strike fund?
Yes. Was that for SAG or was that for the writers?
I think it was for SAG.
Yeah, for SAG, yeah.
Because I think that's what he is a member of.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fantastic
I don't think he's written many screenplays, The Rock. No, I mean, it's a judge a book by its cover, but...
You know what? I think he's much bigger than you. Careful. Let's not badmouth The Rock, all right? He's
and again, Sylvester Stallone's written like 4, including an Oscar-nominated one. So
that's right.
Yeah.
But what I think we've been talking about this, and that is, hey, Tom Cruise, or hey, Jason Bourne, pick up the phone or pick up your checkbook, I should say, and write a check. And so I have an idea.
Yeah.
Phil.
Well, you heard Drew Carey's doing the lunches for everyone at Bob's Big Boy.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah. Anyone who carries a SAG card automatically gets a free meal at any Bob's Big Boy in Los Angeles, and it's not one time. It's because I was reading an article about this. This one out of work actor said, like, I go to Bob's Big Boy literally every day for lunch. On Drew Carey.
That can't be good for you.
Probably not, but hey, better than eating beans out of a can.
Yeah, that's for sure. But so I have an idea, okay? Here's my idea. Hear me out and tell me what you think about this idea. It's similar to what a lot of unions have, which is a strike fund, right?
Yep.
And we have strike pay. But suppose labor, together with, I don't know, some altruistic billionaires like Steven Spielberg, I'm just throwing that out, Mr. Spielberg, created what I would call a forever fund. And that is, we just dump a ton of money into this forever fund. It earns interest. We invest the money, et cetera. And then anybody that's out on strike, whether it's SAG or whether it's, 3 people at a machine shop, can dip into this fund and use it to offset their wages, so the company can't starve them out, because that's what the companies are trying to do with the writers. They're trying to starve them out.
Yes.
Right? Same with the actors. They're trying to starve them out. That's why they're not meeting. Suppose you
Age-old tactic, yeah.
Yeah, it's the oldest trick in the book, right? Suppose, though, that you had a fund that paid you while you were not, there's a misconception, by the way, that people think you go on strike, you get unemployment. You don't.
Yeah.
You just don't, right? If they lock you out, you get unemployment. But if you go on strike, you don't get unemployment.
No.
Right? Now, maybe if we change that would help. But you suppose there was a fund, right? And by the way, where are where are the rest of the actors? Where's is Dwayne Johnson the only one? I mean, and I'm sure that
Yes.
we got to figure out who's done some good things. But I know that there are actors and actresses and directors and very, very, very wealthy people that could kick in $10 million without having it dent their
Without
bank.
even noticing it.
Right?
Correct. Yeah.
So suppose you did that, and suppose you
I
created
like
this
it.
fund. Thank you.
Hey, what if we one-upped it? You know who's looking to spend their money
Who?
and whitewash their reputation?
Elon Musk?
The Saudis.
Oh, the Saudis. Wait a second.
What better way to build goodwill than having the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund dump millions of dollars to support working actors and screenwriters?
You take Saudi money and give it to American labor?
Hey, it's working for the PGA Tour, so hey,
Oh, ouch. Hey, listen, money's money.
money's money, man.
But it's called the Forever Fund, and
Right.
I want the Major League Baseball players, and I want the NFL players, and I want basketball players, and I want famous actors, and famous people, and people that have a ton of money. Give a bunch of money to this thing, and even up the playing field a little bit, right? Because these writers are going to starve, are they not? Phil,
Yes,
you were
they are.
saying how much were they making?
Hold on. I read this in New York Mag the other day. This is someone who co-created a show on Netflix. But the residuals I've gotten from a show are to the right of the decimal point, 27 cents, 89 cents. Sometimes I save them up until they amount to $15 or $20. Then I'll take myself out and buy a sandwich.
Oh my God.
I guess they all come in a green envelope, and they're like, back in the day when you got a green envelope, that was like, oh, cool, I can pay off my mortgage this month.
Right.
Now you can buy a sandwich.
Oh my gosh. And that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely embarrassing.
Yeah.
Look, start the Forever Fund. Maybe we'll start it right here in WGN. Maybe see, I'm sure WGN will kick in a couple mil, don't you think?
Easy.
Right? I mean, we
They're
are
good
the
for it. Where's Kevin?
Yeah, we're the number one show.
There he
Where
is.
Kevin,
Yeah.
Kevin is a very, very wealthy. I think he's the CEO of WGN. If I'm not
Pretty sure that's right.
He's the boss of everybody. So Kevin's going to kick in. He's a good Southside Irish guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Very generous.
But listen, we'll take a quick break, and then we're going to wrap things up. We'll talk about. I want to talk about the labor peace deal that the city of Chicago just came up with, and for the Democratic National Convention. So we will be right back with more of the Workers' Mic right here on 720 WGN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Workers' Mic right here on 720 WGN. I'm Ken. Still sitting here with me is Phil. Interesting discussion, Phil. I think we have solved
Great
lots
discussion.
lots of labor's problems with the Forever Fund.
It's going to be huge.
It's going to be enormous.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk real quick.
I want in.
Yeah, so do I.
That's my guy.
You can have it, and you can make a donation. How about that? Let's talk real quick. The Democratic National Convention is coming to Chicago.
It is.
And
Is it July next year?
I don't know.
Fall? Sometime around then.
We
Yeah.
should probably know this, but
Yeah.
we'll deal with that next year. So they negotiated with McCormick Place, which is where all the conventions are,
Yep.
what's called a labor peace agreement. What's that, Phil? Explain.
That is essentially an agreement where the convention will be staffed and any infrastructure built by unions,
Yep.
and in exchange, there will be no pickets or striking around the site that would give the DNC a black eye.
So no work.
Pretty close?
Yeah, absolutely. So
yeah.
no work stoppages.
No work stoppages.
And it's similar to what we in the construction industry call a project labor agreement. But a labor peace agreement, is a smart move. And, I give a lot of credit to the folks that put this thing together, including the mayor of Chicago.
The governor.
And then, you had the Chicago Federation of Labor with Mr. Bob Ryder, who's been on our show many times, a great friend of the show and just a great labor leader. And then you had the unions, right?
Yep.
And the carpenters are part of this thing.
Carpenters are part of it as well?
Yep. So basically, exactly what that does is exactly what you said. It makes sure that this thing is going to go off without a hitch.
Yes.
And it also then simultaneously guarantees good union jobs for the duration of that project. And it's not just the convention itself; it's all the build up to it,
Yep.
right? It's all the takedown afterwards. It's the hotels. It's everything that's pertinent to this thing. And I don't know what the number is, but we'll drill down and get the number. But it's going to pump tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah, I think like a couple $100 million is the estimate.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, and I mean, all eyes are going to be on Chicago. This is
Yep.
going to be the epicenter of the political movement next year, and we want to showcase the incredible work that union labor does. So, yeah, it's a great opportunity to show the world what we're capable of.
And yeah, right. And we always say this, right? Union labor built this city, right? You look behind us, and it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, the city itself is fantastic, or at least parts of it are.
Especially like a beautiful day like today.
Yeah, for sure.
God, you see it in all its glory.
Yeah. So, do you think that the Republican National Convention is going to have a labor peace deal? I'm gonna go with no.
I wouldn't bet on it.
I'm gonna go with no.
Bet on it.
Yeah. We'll have an unpeace deal.
Yeah, no water breaks.
No water breaks for you. Greg Abbott is gonna go like, okay, and today my platform is everybody sit down, no water breaks.
No bathroom breaks either. Yeah. Everyone gets a stadium buddy.
A stadium buddy, that's a thing?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Tie it to your leg. Not that I've ever used it.
Oh, my God. Okay. All right. So with that, stadium buddy, I love that. I wish I invented that. We gotta go. It's been really interesting today. Thank you so much for listening, and for our millions of listeners out there. We appreciate your support and the constant comments. That's really helpful to us, and it means a lot to us.
Keep spreading the good word.
Yeah. And Phil, I appreciate your sitting in. We'll see more of you soon. I'm going to be headed out of town for a few weeks, so hopefully we'll see more of you. And thanks for sitting in for Ed. And we will be back next week right here on the Workers' Mic, 720 WGN.